UFO sighting described below is something so bizarre that I want to share it. Someone else may have had a similar experience and kept it to themselves. On the 4th of July, 2017 in northern Indianapolis, about 1 p.m., I saw something I cannot explain. I walked into my large backyard and happened to glance up. Small, dense white clouds were traveling in a northeastern direction under a beautiful blue sky. I was watching them when I noticed that one very large cloud to the near northwest, the exact same color as the rest, was stationary. That big cloud was gently moving, like slowly bubbling or percolating in place, while the smaller clouds traveled northward above, below, and beside it. Then I saw something I wasn't prepared to see. The big cloud was mostly concealing an enormous craft. From my viewpoint, the overall effect resembled the nose of a cruise ship peeking out of a cloud. The craft's skin was smooth with no external appendages. Its color was a pale, washed-out, non-reflective gray. There was no sound. The part of the craft I could observe looked like a 3-layer cake. I made a drawing of it from memory. The top tier was the smallest and had no openings. The second level was deeper and wider, rounded on the end, and had about 4 black, vertically rectangular openings or windows that were a bit wider at the bottom. The rest of them were masked by the cloud. The third layer was wider still and had no openings that I could see. The bottom of this level, and whatever was below it, was concealed by the cloud. The craft was close by and immense. Judging from what I was able to see, it must have been hundreds of feet across. I went back into the house to find my wife, and the camera only she knew how to operate. She was grocery shopping. I came out again about 5 minutes later and the thing was still there. I returned to the house and came out about 20 minutes later. It was gone. I didn't take UFOs seriously until I saw one and then waited 3 years before I told anyone except my wife. The event didn't much affect me at the time. Now I think of it often and find myself watching clouds more closely. What I probably saw was the left edge of a flying saucer that closely resembles some of the drawings on Google Images. There are references in Google search about unidentified craft hiding in, or being masked by, clouds. Who made those things and what are they doing here?
The 16th of October 2019, 7 p.m. Indianapolis, Indiana. While standing on the bank of a creek, an extremely bright orb appeared and ascended up a hill and disappeared. It lasted for 30 seconds. There was no sound. There was no logical reason. It was about 4 feet off the ground. It stayed 4 feet off the ground while it ascended a hill and disappeared. It was not a reflection or a laser pointer. The sun was setting behind the hill. No one was in the area. A person would have made a noise while walking through the wooded area. There was no sound. I was briefly scared.
The 10th of December 2019, 6:10 a.m. Indianapolis, Indiana observed at least 50 objects descending from the upper atmosphere one at a time every 5 seconds. These objects continued on the same trajectory heading SE.
The 22nd of September 2019, 12:30 p.m. silver cylinder-style craft looked like a missile, no wings or tail. Flew in a straight line over the treetops, not very fast, then disappeared. I thought maybe a drone, but I looked at pictures of drones, not a drone.
The 6th of August 2019, 11:40 p.m. Indianapolis, Indiana. Bright blue light extremely far up and was out of my sight within a millisecond. There was no tail to it, faster than anything I've ever seen.
The 25th of March 2020, 10:08 p.m. Indianapolis, Indiana. I saw a light traveling across the western sky that suddenly intensified and went dim. It intensified again in another location as if it were traveling in a straight line. Right after the light intensified the second time, I witnessed a bright orange trail of light that from my point of view would appear to make a J in the sky, as if it had dramatically changed its trajectory. The light intensified for a third time, much brighter, and it was a very bright golden color for about 3 seconds. Adjacent to this light, another light flashed across the sky at an extremely high rate of speed and left an orange trail. It was as if it were fleeing from the first light. Then, the first light went dim and shot off in the opposite direction, leaving a small orange trail that quickly faded away.
The 29th of March 2020, 9:50 p.m. Indianapolis, Indiana. At 9:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my son called me saying I needed to go outside and look up at the sky. He was seeing multiple star-like objects in a linear path moving from the northwest to the southwest of the sky. I went outside. While still on the phone, he told me to look at the moon and then go to the moons. 1 o'clock, I picked up a moving star-like object and then was able to see more right after it. I counted 8 moving across the sky in a linear formation. My son had seen more before he called me. Said he saw 25 total moving in a caravan-type line across the sky. Equally spaced apart from each other, moving at a good speed, one right after another. I have never seen these star-like objects in such a convo of movement. They faded out of view as they traveled SW. In the next 45 minutes I saw 4 more star-like objects moving across the sky, until faded out of view. None had noise, all just looked like rapidly moving stars until they fade out or just disappear. My son and I live approximately 3 miles from each other. We saw this event and discussed while on phone during the sighting. I have seen many of these star-like objects moving across the sky over many years. Never have I seen a caravan of them moving like what I saw last night. One right after another after another. My son counted 25. I saw 8 by the time he called me and I ran outside. Crystal clear skies last night. No other airline in the sky due to virus restrictions. The airlines.
Indianapolis, Indiana. I used to work for MUFON, so I know how important it is to submit these reports. Feel free to call for more info. UFO sighting today, August 8, 2020 at around 1:30-ish p.m. I was noticing that a FedEx plane was very low in the sky, turning west, going west back to the airport or to the airport. Seemed odd that it would be so low. I kept looking at the plane and then I noticed what appears to be a large star the size of Jupiter. 0.45 degrees in the sky. It was still and didn't move for the 2+ minutes that I stood there. Tried to take video with my phone, obviously because it was so sunny I couldn't see it with the phone. Ran inside, grabbed my binoculars. At this point I couldn't see it when I came back outside, but then saw it 30 seconds later when my eyes were able to adjust after I blocked out the sign. At this time it was a little bit smaller and more towards southwest at 50 or 55 degrees. Quickly pulled up my binoculars to see what I could see. It appeared to be a white translucent object, not sure if it was translucent, and had a frame structure that was darker, or it did look like there was some kind of structure to it, possibly a balloon or a weird octagon shape or other. Although that would have had to have been a giant balloon. Or possibly my binoculars could have been out of focus and caused it to look this way, but I don't think so. Actually just pulled them out. They are set to look at the stars perfectly. What is interesting is when I could sort of steady the binoculars on the object, I did notice a secondary light source that was just above it and to the left. This light source appeared to be very small, like a blinking light that would randomly blink. Now that was the weird part. I forgot that I was cooking on the grill and my hamburgers were done, so I had to put the binoculars down for a second and go turn off the grill. When I came back to it a few minutes later, I am not sure if I was able to see it. Oh yeah, at that point I ran inside to grab sunglasses, which took a few minutes. Came back outside. Thought my sunglasses would give me a better chance of seeing it. I could not relocate the object. Went into the front yard to try to respot the object and could not. It was very hot outside today and very bright, like I was saying. By the time it got to the southwest and the sun is overhead in the south, it's hard to see virtually anything. I had to put my hand up.
The 9th of March 2021, 3:50 a.m. Indianapolis, Indiana. 2 dark triangular objects, defined by 3 dimly lit lights at each point that appeared gray in color, not illuminated like an incandescent light but visible in the night sky, traveling at a few hundred miles per hour at an altitude of 10,000 feet or higher, 80 degrees to the Earth. No sound as the objects traveled in a straight line on a northerly heading and visible for 5 to 8 seconds from first sight to last observed. A check of website name moved to Investigators Report Section, CMS, FGC, showed few aircraft operating near Indianapolis at that time, none of which were on the same heading. The objects had no colored or strobing lights commonly observed on aircraft. Atmospheric condition was mostly clear with few stars visible in downtown Indianapolis, likely due to light pollution, but objects appeared to undistorted by any cloud cover.